Morning, everyone.
Morning.
How's everyone this morning?
Wonderful.
Good. My name's Bob, and I'm the pastor here. It's great to see everyone here. Now, I just want to remind everybody several times today that next week we will not be here, okay? We will be at Hummel Park. We will be there. I'm sorry, my wife's trying to say something to me. No?
I said, what? Where are we going to be?
Okay, we're going to be at Hummel Park. I thought I had it wrong. We're going to be at Hummel Park, and we're going to be at the amphitheater. So, rain or shine, we'll be there. We'll be underneath a covering, so if it is raining, we'll be okay. We won't get too wet. So, if you come here, we won't be here. There's actually a tattoo convention. So, if you want a tattoo, I guess you can come here. If you want to, just get an appropriate tattoo. Okay? If you want to worship the Lord, then we'll be at Hummel Park. We're in our series. It's called The Good Life. It's for everyone. And the passage that we're using, the verse we're using for this series, is Psalms 34:8. And Psalms 34:8 says this: "Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in Him." God is good. God is the source of all that is good. And if we have a relationship with Him, then we have the good life. Now, last week we talked about our experiences in life, our experiential life. And we have good experiences. Anybody have any good experiences this week? Good. Some challenging experiences. Anybody have a challenging experience this week? Oh, we got people really waving them now. And then we have some not so good experiences. Anybody have a not so good experience? Okay, well, that's the way it goes. But in spite of all those experiences that we have, what do we embrace? We embrace hope. If we have hope and we believe that God is with us, God is in control, God is for us, and God has good things for us, we embrace those things, that hope, then we'll have a good life. This week, we're not going to talk about our experiences, we're going to talk about our internal life. What is our motivations? What is our passions? What is the forces within me? This is the title, What's My Motivation? Now, there's all kinds of motivations. We see two motivations right there, don't we? We see a cat running for its food, and we see a mouse running for its life. Two very different motivations, but they're motivations. And everybody has all kinds of different motivations. My wife and I, we have some different motivations. My wife likes to get stuff done early because she doesn't like to feel a lot of pressure. Myself. Pressure is like drinking a Mountain Dew. It gets me going. I don't drink coffee. But pressure is something that I need to help because I'm kind of a scatterbrain. You probably don't know that if you just don't know me very well. And pressure makes me focus. Anybody like to have pressure to get stuff done? Okay, there's some of us out there. Who would like to get stuff done early so you don't have to have that pressure? Oh, we're outnumbered. Some people are task-oriented. They like to get tasks done. They like to have a list of stuff, and they like just to mark that off and to get stuff done. That's one way people are motivated. Other people, they like the process. They're more creative people. They like to engage in this task and to have fun and it's like a creative adventure. Anybody like that? You like the creative side. Okay, we got some people like that. So these are neither good nor bad. This is how God has created us. We all have different motivations. But there are some motivations and passions in life that if I want to be a follower of Jesus, then I have to have these. I must embrace these. And to talk about this, we're going to be in the book of Micah. The prophet Micah, there he is right there, picture of him. Well, that's an 18th century picture of him. And he was around in the 8th century, so we don't know what he looked like. But he does look a little perturbed there, would you say? And for good reason. He was an 8th century prophet. He wrote the book of Micah. And when he was writing his prophetic book in the Old Testament, it was a very difficult time in Israel. You see, Egypt was the main empire at that time. But the Assyrians were rising up. Is there a map on there next? Oh, yeah. So you see, there's Assyria right there. Okay? There's Egypt right there. And guess who's in the middle of the battle? Well, that's Jerusalem, that's Israel right there. And so as Egypt was waning in its power and Assyria was coming up, they had all these battles. And Israel was right in the firing line. So there was a lot of pressure. In fact, within a generation or within 25 years of Micah writing the book of Micah, the northern kingdom of Israel was decimated by Assyria. So it was a very, very real fear. So they had these fears. And it's happened so often when there's this type of political fear and problem and the fear of being conquered. Well, sometimes the internal system, judicial and system, just kind of falls apart. That's what happened in the book of Micah. Micah was a farmer. And these are the charges he brought against Israel in this book of Micah. First of all, the city folk were fleecing the country folk. Okay, and Micah, being a country folk himself, being a farmer, didn't like that. Judges took bribes to whoever had, the judgment went to the person who had the most money. The priests were immoral and corrupt, and prophets would prophesy for money. So if I were the king, and I wanted people to be on my side, I would hire these prophets. And then go around prophesying that all is well. That the economy is good. That God is with us. That's to keep the people in line. In fact, here's a verse out of Micah. He says, if a liar and deceiver comes and says, I will prophesy for you plenty of wine and beer, he would be just the preacher for this people. So the people wanted the preacher to preach that there's going to be plenty of wine and beer. I would never try that. I don't know how good that would go. But that's what they were looking for in those days. People to tell them what they wanted to hear. Because it was a very difficult time. So in Micah chapter 6, there's this really incredible scene that God is calling the people to court. And it's this court scene where the jury is the mountains and the foundations of the earth, and the Lord is the one bringing the case against Israel, and Micah is kind of the prosecuting attorney, and Israel is the defendant. And this is what it says. It says, here are the mountains, the Lord's accusation. The Lord has a case against his people, a charge against Israel. And this is what the charge is. This is my people, what have I done to you? How have I burdened you? Answer me. I brought you up out of Egypt and redeemed you from the land of slavery. And then so it goes on to talk about these charges that was against Israel. And this is how Israel replies. It's a little unusual. Certainly wasn't pleasing to God. So this is what Israel says. It says, with what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? In other words, Israel's saying, well, what sacrifice, Lord, do I bring? What do you want me to bring to you to make you happy? I mean, what do you want from me? And he starts off with the simple things. He says, what about a burnt offering? That would be something that the poorer people would bring. It would be a grain offering, and they'd bring it to the altar, to the temple, and there it would be burnt. He says, well, what about a calf, a year-old? Now, a year-old calf was a pretty valuable commodity back then. That was something, I don't know much about livestock, but I guess at a year is a prime time to eat a calf. I don't know about that. But this would be a very valuable commodity. So what if we bring you a calf? Is that going to appease your anger towards us? And then it goes on to say, well, what about thousands of rams? That would be something that a king, the wealthiest king, would bring. Solomon would bring sacrifices of thousands of rams to the temple. What about that? Then it goes beyond. It says, well, what about 10,000 rivers of olive oil? God, is that what you want from me? Would that make you happy? And then it goes to the final degree. What if I offer my firstborn? Something that would never have been done in Israel. So you almost hear this hint of sarcasm and say, God, what do you want? You want my firstborn? What do you want from me? Well, I can see Micah is just kind of shaking his head, saying, don't you get it? Don't you understand what it is to be the people of Yahweh? To be the people of God. So Micah responds, speaking for God, and he gives us one of the most incredible verses in the Bible. It says this. He says, He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. That's a pretty powerful verse right there. If we can grab hold of that, we're talking about the good life. If we can grab hold of those things, then I believe we've grabbed hold of the good life. I believe that those are our internal passions and our desires to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with God. I believe we will have the good life. And this is available to everyone. Doesn't matter what your economic status is, or your education, or where you are at in life, whether you're young or not so young, whether you're tall or short, it doesn't matter. This good life, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God, is available to everyone. And that's the outline for our sermon today. The first one is to embrace justice. Micah says, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly. Psalm 11:7 says this, for the Lord is righteous, he loves justice. The upright will see his face. Micah was in a very unjust society. The wealthy were taking advantage of the powerless. Judges were taking bribes. The priests were immoral. And the people just wanted the prophets and the preachers to say whatever they wanted to hear. But what about today? Do you know how many laws there are in the United States? Tell me, because I don't know. I tried to look it up. The closest I got, there are 200,000 pages of federal laws published in 2010. That's 200,000 pages. That's a lot of pages. That doesn't include state laws. It doesn't include regulations. It doesn't include all the different areas where you regulate. That's just federal law. And new laws and regulations are being added at an approximate rate of about 40,000 per year. That's a lot of laws. Seems a little extreme to me. I don't know. But why so many laws? Well, I think it's debatable as to why or why not. I think the bottom line is, wherever there's a loophole, wherever there's an opportunity for someone to take advantage of somebody else,